Who's a friend of me on social media? Okay, we've got some people there. Well, if you find me on social media, we also have an amazing community with over 5,000 bartenders in there. It's called Gastrophysics by Libbey, which I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later. And last but not least, I call myself the Gastrophysics caretaker. And we have an amazing competition which is running for the third time next year. And the cool thing I wanted to announce today is that we're going to organize the finals of our competition next year here at the Athens Bar Show. I know that the Greek bartenders are really enthusiastic about competitions. And there are a lot of competitions out there in the market, only they're always about the drink. So we created a competition that's about the whole experience. So lots of people who've done, who's done a competition here before, who's entered a competition, Bacardi Legacy, World Class. There's some people here, right? And it's always about the drink, and of course it's about your skills you have. But the thing is, I've talked to a lot of bartenders over the years, and people who are entering competitions, they're always finding a unique glass. And to be different, because they want to be different towards the other people that are also competing. And in our competition we said, okay, why find the glass, why not design the glass? So I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later. Small background story on Libbey itself. Libbey, 200 years, we're an American company, founded in 1818 by Edward Drummond Libbey. We were known the first 100 years for our cut glassware. So this amazing punch bowl was one of the main items that really made us famous back in the days. Going into quickly where we understand now, this is one of our glasses a lot of people know in the industry. It's a Hofstar glass, but we are known for the old plastic glass. But here are some core values I actually always try to tell people what we stand for these days. We want to be durable, but we know in the industry it's also a business, so you shouldn't break that quickly. We want to have functional glasses. That's why we really try to collaborate with people in the industry. Hey, what do you need? Because we know, hey, it needs to be beautiful, but it also has to be functional as well. If it doesn't fit your freezer, which you're putting your glasses in these days, why should you buy the glasses? Distinctive, we want to be different. Trend-driven, well, that's a little bit where I come into place, trying to find the trends all over the world. And collaboration is really important for us, and we like to collaborate with you guys, with small brands. We actually have a small stand here at the Athens Bar Show, and we gave it away to small brands, independent brands from bartenders. And we said, okay, we want to promote our glasses, but we will let you promote your brand. So we're giving away our spaces. We did it at the Berlin Bar event as well, and it's allowing small brands to showcase themselves. So trying to be more than just a glassware producer. To give you an idea, is we produce 1.3 billion glasses a year. And I don't know who did the math, but if you would stack those glasses, you would circle around the world 14 times. And we produce glasses 24 hours a day, so we cannot stop our production, because it will cost too much money on energy, doing up reheating the furnace. So for us it's really important to actually produce something that will sell, and that you guys are looking for. So that's why collaboration we feel is really important. The title is a little bit gone due to the font that's not on this computer, but is taste that simple? Well, I'm not a bartender, as I said, but going into bars, looking at it from a marketing perspective, I'm looking at it kind of differently than I think bartenders are doing. That are sometimes, in my opinion, too much focus on the drink itself. And if you were really interested in what happens in the minds of people, you should really read one of these books. So you have Gastrophysics from Professor Charles Spence, who also wrote The Perfect Meal, and you have Neurogastronomy from Gordon and Shepherd. And if you really are into what happens in people's minds when they're drinking at your bar, or in your restaurant, or whatever, this is a really amazing book. It really helped me to understand what's happening in people's minds. And that's something a little bit I wanted to talk about today with you guys, about what happens in people's minds when they come into your bar. And I think from my point of view, as not being a bartender, I'm pretty good at telling that from my stories and my experiences. So Gastrophysics, actually Charles Spence, he wrote down, we taste food and drinks with all our senses, not just with our mouth. It's not just our tongue that's tasting our drinks, it's our mind that prepares us for the whole tasting experience. So you're not just feeding people's mouths, you're feeding people's minds as well. And that's not when they come to sit at your bar, no, that's the moment they come into your bar. That's the first person he sees, that's the music he's listening to, that's the friends he's bringing with him into your bar. Everything will actually influence the whole taste experience of your drink. Of course, you have the 5 senses everybody knows of. So you have appearance, you have odor, you have taste, the mouth, the tactility of what it does in your mouth, and sounds. And some of these are really, you think, okay, taste, odor is really important, because pretty much 80% what you taste, you do with your nose. If you have a cold and you cannot smell anything, you will pretty much almost taste anything. But appearance, how many people here has actually ordered a cocktail because it looks amazing from somebody else? And you think, oh, my eyes are thinking, oh, I need to try this cocktail. You have no idea what's in it. You're ordering something, you're not actually sure which spirits are in there, but you think, hey, this is going to be a good cocktail. And that's actually influencing you before you even taste it. But there's a whole collaboration actually between experience and expectations. So which expectations do you have when you go to a bar? You've got reviews, you've read reviews from people, you know there's a certain bartender working there, so you go into your bar and you have your own expectations. And they are also clouding and judging and making eventually the whole taste experience of the drink itself. And there are a few things that actually will appear to what happens with expectations. So the pictures you've seen on Instagram, the bartender that's working there, the price of the cocktail is really high. If the price is really high, you're going to have a high expectation as well. Yesterday was a really good example. I went to a bar, I will not call the name of the bar, and it had a highball cocktail on the menu. So I thought, yes, I would like to have a fresh highball drink. The whiskey was in there. And eventually I got it in a rocks glass. So my whole expectations, the first thing I thought is, no, I was expecting a highball. So I wasn't, the quality perception that I was going to have of drinking the drink is already gone down, because I was expecting something else. So that's how you see expectations people have that actually come into your bar. Sound is also a good example. Of course, the sound in your bar can make or break the whole experience of the drink itself. And there's a good example in the book from Charles Spence. He's telling a little bit about the fact that, okay, how does sound influence you when you're sitting in a bar or restaurant? Well, how would you feel if you would go to a Michelin star chef restaurant? You were sitting near the kitchen and you were hear the bell of the microwave. You think, what? Is this restaurant using a microwave to heat up my food? That sound will influence the whole experience of your meal or your expectations which you will have eventually. So you come into your bar and a regular customer sits down, and what will influence his expectations of the drink? So it's the glass, it's the shape of the bowl, the smell of the drink, the liquor that he's using. These are a few examples of what people will think of when they come into your bar. But actually, there is so much more that's actually influencing while he's not knowing that he's being influenced. So it's how does the bartender look? Has he got filthy fingers? Is he clean? Is he paying attention? Is he the chair he's sitting on? Is it comfortable? If it's not comfortable and you're turning around and you're sitting, that cocktail experience is not going to be as good as that you would hope for. So there is so much that's actually influencing you while you're not even noticing it in your mind. So, in my travels all around the world, first of all I was traveling to promote Libbey, then I started traveling to try and see trends, and eventually what I found out is that I have to find the trends in drinks, and eventually I'll find the trends in glasses as well. And going to places in London, to the Artesia or to Savoy Bar, all these places where people are trying to set a new trend, they're using a certain glass. And you guys also you're going to your competitors as well. What are they doing? What are they doing? Which drinks are they making? And you look at glassware as well. And then one of the nicest examples is I always would like to say is that I think that the glass is the link eventually between you and your creation and the first thing your customer actually sees. Because it's the first thing you reach out to him if you give him his drink. It's the glass. So he will look at the glass. And that shape of that glass. The glass you're choosing for your drink is the first thing will actually start things in his brain to say, okay, hey, this glass is going to be, this drink is going to be heavy, it's going to be sweet, it's going to be sour. And one of the things that I think is what I see these days is simplicity. Lots of bars in the world are going to simplicity drinks, simple drinks, no garnish. Also lots of clear ice, you see lots of clear ice. But also the glasses they're using are really simple and basic. And these days going as thin as possible. So this is a small example of how you see that a certain trend in drinks and liquid will also transfer to certain glasses using. The influences that the glass has on taste, preferences. I've talked a little about preferences. Who has in his bar or at home has his favorite glass that he likes to drink everything out? I'm seeing some hands. And well, you believe that this is my favorite glass. I'm going to drink my whiskey out, I'm going to drink my rum out of it, I'm going to drink my cocktail out of it, and that's your favorite glass. So your expectations are going to be high because is it the best glass? Maybe not. The shape of the glass does a lot with the taste of the drink. I think that lots of people and everybody will know that the shape of a wine glass does something with the wine inside. The wider the bowl, the more air it gets, the more it opens up. Sometimes you want that because it's a really old wine and you want it to open up because it's been lying down in the cellar for a long, long time. And sometimes you don't want it. If you have a really nice fresh wine, you don't want it to open up as big as that because then you will really smell and taste the alcohol, which you don't want. You want to have the fruitiness of the wine. So the shape of the glass does a lot with the actual taste of the drink itself. Can we taste the shape of a glass? And that is where the revendiquer effect comes in later on, which I will now explain a little bit more. It's a cool idea is, can we actually taste the shape of the glass we're having and we're drinking from? It's a strange idea, but I'll show you a little bit how it works later on. And elements that can also influence your taste and the expectations you have is, there's still people going into bars asking for a certain drink and asking for like a male glass. I don't want it in a martini. I don't want it to just give me a rocks glass because that makes me feel manly. And don't want to walk around with a pink drink in a martini glass. So that's all your own preferences and expectations that you are influencing yourself and the drink you're using. But there is more to it than just the shape of the glass. So it's the weight of the glass. It's the material. If you're going to use a glass from wood, it will give us so much different feeling in your mouth, also tactility-wise, but also smell-wise. So maybe you will smell the wood, you will taste a little bit of the wood, and that will influence also the drink you're using in your glass. Some cool examples of preferences is that pretty much everybody who drinks cola will have a preference where to drink it from. And although it's the same liquid inside, you will find it nicer in either a can or a glass or the classic the bottle. And I prefer a can, nice and cold, to have also the cold feeling in my hand. But although it's the same liquor, or drink inside, you will taste it differently for your perception. Has anybody of you ever done a glass tasting test? Hands if you have. So you've tasted something in different glasses to see what it does. Yeah, is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. I was at Tales of the Cocktail 2 years ago and I did a test. So there was a whole whiskey tasting and eventually I got these 3 glasses out. So all rocks glasses. On the left, one really thin and elegant one. In the middle, a real taster sniffer. And on the right, a really manly, strong and heavy glass. And I asked everybody to first make up your mind, like, which is your preference, which would you like the most? And, well, at that time, most of the people liked this glass the most. They liked to have it in a heavy glass. And eventually we did the taste. So, okay, now with that in your mind, taste all 3 glasses. And it was the worst to drink from, actually, to drink your whiskey from. The best was the middle, but there were 3 totally different tastes from 3 totally different glasses. And the only thing that stuck in my mind is that, okay, as a bartender or working in a bar or restaurant, you think of a certain glass because it fits your bar and it fits your budget. and eventually you like it. But does it actually fit the drink that you're putting into? Sometimes that's something, a thing that I'm not going to say you have to choose always this glass, but it's something to think about. Hey, which glass do you use? So Bubba versus Kiki. What do we want the glass actually to tell about the drink? So if somebody sees a glass, what do we want the people to tell about the drink? This is the Bubba and Kiki. In 1900, around 2000, there were some psychologists that created this Bubba and Kiki effect, and they wanted to actually test if we could link a certain sound to a certain shape. So if you look at these two shapes, and you think in your mind, which one is Bubba and which one is Kiki? So who would say the left one on the left side is Bubba? Okay, and so pretty much on the right side is Kiki. It has a sharper edge towards the sound that you're putting into it, so you're looking at the sharper version. So looking into Bubba and Kiki, talking about flavors, sweet and sour. Also think of that as well. So what would you call sour, what would you call sweet? You probably would call sweet a little bit to the left, has more rounded flavors, sour more to the right, more sharp. So if we can actually link a certain taste to a certain shape, what does shape do for glass? What happens if you use a more round glass on the left and a more sharpy, agile glass on the right? It will also probably give a certain perspective about what to expect in the drink. Something to think about. So, glass expectations. There are certain glasses out there, everybody knows. This is a martini glass, so you use it for a martini. You don't serve a double old fashioned in this. Everybody knows, hey, this is a glass, it's used for this certain drink. And there are certain different other examples. This is one of our glasses which is pretty much known in the world for an Irish whiskey. Because of Dead Rabbit in New York started using this glass for their Irish whiskey. And there are people actually were looking for this glass, and I know that they were trying to create a twist on Irish whiskey, but they wanted to have this glass because they know that people seeing this glass, they know that they're going to drink something like an Irish whiskey. So putting that twist on the Irish whiskey, they wanted to have the glass that already put the preferences of the person in their mind. Really cool tiki glass, which one was on the chairs. So we created this with Daniela Dalla Polla. It's actually an old classic Mai Tai glass. We call it Kahiko. It's a really nice new range. But all expectations that the glasses that are known in the market, that you think, hey, I have a connection to this. Lots of people have a connection to this for pina colada. So it's a certain preference you already have in your mind and that you know of. So all iconic shapes that are out there. And but for my idea, it's been a long time since we actually created a new iconic shape. And that's actually one of the main reasons I'm here as well. So we created something called Glassology. Next year, March 2020, we're going to have the 3rd edition of our competition. And it's all going to be about creating the next new iconic glass. Why can't we create a new iconic glass that everybody in 10 years will know, hey, that's linked to that certain cocktail? We have to, if it should be something that's already existing classic cocktail like a daiquiri. We're all using coops for a daiquiri. Perhaps it's not the perfect glass. So I would like to challenge you all and invite you all to start joining us in our community we have. Our community is called Gastrophysics by Libbey on Facebook. So if you're not a member yet, please do go to Facebook and type in Gastrophysics by Libbey. And then we will update you on everything that's happening in the competition. So what's the competition about? We decided to do the finals here in Athens bar show next year. We've been doing the 1st and the 2nd edition, always doing it at bar shows all around the world. And it's one of the most fun places to do is here in Athens. It's beautiful weather, we have beautiful people, it's sunny, so that's really nice to do. So a little bit more about the competition itself. As I said before, it's a competition without no limitations. So don't see it as a cocktail competition, but see it as a glass design concept competition. and we don't ask you guys to be the best drawers or the best technical drawers, because it's all about the concept. It's all about thinking of, okay, which glass do we need in the market that's not there? Which classic cocktail needs actually its own glass? So no limitations, you can choose your own ingredients, you can design your own glass. Eventually, if you reach the semi-finals, we will choose the best concepts to invite you over to our factories in both Netherlands and both Portugal. We actually have one of the semi-finalists here in the front, who made actually a rum barrel glass. That was his concept. He didn't make the finals eventually, but that doesn't matter. We also would like to learn from you guys, because we have a great group of designers in our team, but you are the guys who are actually, well, working on the glass for yourself in your bar and knowing what you are needing. So semi-finals, as I said, in Portugal. And what the cool thing about the competition is, if we choose the finalists, and eventually, if you reach the finals, you will get a 3D print of your design, of your glass. And I've actually, well, I witnessed actually people almost crying, because it's like their baby getting, this is what's come to life. There are so many bartenders that join our competition that work so hard on their glass, and eventually to see it and to use it, it's like a dream come true. And I love cocktail competitions. It really challenges bartenders to give more, to learn more. Only what I always say is, in 10 years' time, nobody will know who won Bacardi Legacy 10 years ago. You have to look it up, Google it. Also for both of us. You will have lots of recognition in the market, that's really good. But to really put your mark on the market, to have your own glass, being spread all over the world with your name on the box in all bars in the world. I know from the people that have won the first two editions, they are so happy about that fact that people are using their glass all over the world. Well, here it's the finals in Professor Amsterdam, that's still a mistake, so the finals will be here. The first two winners, the first winner was Robert Schinkel. Dutch bartender, but also he has his own tea liquor, he's a barista. He created a whole experience with a punch bowl. So he created a punch bowl in the shape of a tulip, because his heart comes from Amsterdam. And there's a whole story to the punch being, how do I say, it was something that was really high class in the early 1600s. I mean, you had to pay lots of money for the tulip bowl. So you wanted to create a unique experience serving punches, because normally punches are served in just a simple fishbowl. Second winner we had was last year, and this is a nice example, Jochen Verbeek, only been bartending for 1.5 years, but he had this amazing cool idea. He saw the trend going from really vintage glassware to more art deco, so he created a glass that he focused on, called the Gats, focusing on drinks that are also nice for both males and females as well. Well, the coolest prize is we produce the glass if you win. Other prizes, what we do is, well, pretty much also really nice, is the fame. So you get your own glass, and you will get free glassware. We will use you as also as help us to promote the brand. So we bring you to bar shows all over the world. You'll become the next judge for the next competition. And I think one of the best prizes everybody loves is we send you to Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans. So one of the biggest, well, it's the biggest cocktail shows in the world. I've been twice. It's one of the best experiences I've had on cocktails ever. There's one downside. There are so many events that you have to skip a lot, because it's 1 week and there's like 700 events happening in the whole city. So you only have to choose your battles. So that's also one of the big nice prizes. And I get to go with you, so that's nice for me, so I get to go with you together. So the judges, so we don't judge ourselves, we have people out of the industry judging you. So this was the last edition. We had Simon Difford from Difford's Guide, Sandra Lawrence from the Cocktail Lovers, Diego Ferrari, a famous bartender from Italy. We had Tara Darnell, who is a cocktail stylist, so she does styling for world-class Diageo cocktails. So she knows what it needed to have a unique glass. And we had Robert Schinkel, he was of course the first winner, and we had somebody from Libbey. So there's one person from Libbey in there who is also making sure that we can actually produce the glass. So March 2020, next edition. I always tell people it's not a cocktail competition, something you enter the last day. So if you're working on your new menu now, if you're working in your bar, if you having problems with certain glasses, start thinking already, start thinking now. As I mentioned, we have a community called Gastrophysics by Libbey. It's now over 5,000 bartenders from all the world. We do some cool challenges as well, so we try to collaborate and give away free samples and send away glasses to all people around the world. So please become a member. I pretty much check everybody that wants to become a member, so if the person has got nothing to do with the drinks industry, they're not allowed. I really want to have hardcore people that are working in the drinks industry like you guys. Other things we do is we try to get free tickets for bar shows. So if you're going to go to a bar show, you go to Berlin or you go to another bar show and you think, oh shit, I haven't got any tickets, we always give free tickets away for bar shows because we have that connection. And as I said in the beginning, we also sometimes give away our stand. So if you have a small brand that you're trying to promote in the world or on bar shows, we probably will give you that opportunity as well. Yep, are we almost there? We're done? Okay, this is pretty much my last slide. So this is just a slide to give you an example of creations of cocktails that were made in our community by bartenders all over the world. So they also share their knowledge. And last but not least, just anybody got questions? Yes?
First, who wins the competition? Do they also get like profit if you sell the product after?
I'm sorry?
The person who wins the competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we try to seek collaboration. Yeah, so the question was if you win the competition and your glass gets designed and produced, do you also actually get money? We don't do that. We find the fact, I think the fame of having your own glass and having it used is more than just getting money at the end of the month. Yep, no, it's a good question. It's a question that actually a lot of people ask. Yeah. So thank you all very much for coming. I just want to thank Athens for having me again. This is the third time in the year I'm here. If you have any questions, we have a small stand at stand number 5 outside. And we have some also unique drums today from South America. So if you would like to play some unique drums, come to our stand as well. Thank you.